Hello, everybody. Welcome to our June edition of TUS Talks. It's a monthly podcast where we take a deep dive into the air travel scene here at Southern Arizona's major airport, Tucson International Airport. I'm Bill Buckmaster, two-state Hall of Fame broadcaster with my buddy Brian Kidd. Brian is the Deputy Chief of Strategic Marketing and Air Service Development for the Tucson Airport Authority, overseeing the operations at Tucson International Airport, TUS, and Ryan Field, the area's private aviation facility. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hi, Bill. Good to see you.
So we've got the situation with the unrest continues in the Middle East. We talked last month about aviation jet fuel, the cost. Has that stabilized at least with domestic carriers?
It's been trending downward. I mean, spot fuel prices are well below $4, but then I checked on oil this morning and it was up $7 a barrel again on the new quote. You know,
right.
It wants to go lower. You can tell it wants to go lower every time there's even a hint of a agreement.
Right.
Yes, it declines, but then it's off the table, pops back up. A lot of the summer travel is already baked in. The airlines went ahead and raised fares, as we've talked about in here. I think the big surprise is that customers were willing to essentially accept those higher fares. So what that means is, the upper, let's say the way it is, the upper part of the socioeconomic pyramid, who really constitutes the majority of air travel now, is not being under strain. They're able to absorb those extra $50, $100 each way. The bottom of the K-shaped economy wasn't really traveling by air anyway. They're feeling the strain of gas prices, but they weren't the ones that are on the aircraft anymore. So things have really changed. Tucson's always been it's never really been a mass market. We've always been a slightly above average fares, not the volume of Phoenix. If you're looking for the rock bottom fare, people always search out Phoenix. We've talked about that's not really your total trip cost, but if you're trying to get that $79 fare, you're going to have a better chance getting it up there. But this seems to have precipitated a change in the market, and where the airlines are just passing through a lot of those costs and able to get away with it right now, which is telling you that the market that's flying is not that price sensitive.
When deregulation happened, it's been almost a half century.
79.
The whole goal was low fares. And we had these outrageously low airfares. I mean, I'm looking right now out at Southwest here at Tucson International Airport. That was the foundation that built the Love airline.
For sure. They
low prices.
Get you out of your car, get you out of your vehicle. That was the whole business model from day one all the way to, until maybe 15 years ago. And it worked, right? We've seen it in other countries too. Mexico is going through that now. Ryanair, EasyJet in Europe, making that travel that would have gone by a train in that case, or bus if you're in Mexico, onto an airplane. Affordable, lower cost structure. Well, Southwest doesn't have a lower cost structure anymore, so they can't offer those $39 fares to Albuquerque that we used to have. There is no Albuquerque service. Southwest can't make a profit at, even inflation adjusted, it's probably more like 79, but they can't do it at 79 either, really.
So the demise of the low-cost carrier, that story, that narrative continues to play out. Frontier hangs on as kind of the low-cost leader now, and maybe the only one, because when Spirit went away, just another notch.
For sure, and so, yes, Frontier's been the beneficiary. They've filled in some of Spirit's routes in the east. They have a lot of aircraft that they're on the hook to take delivery of over the next few years. They've got to find places to fly them. So this gave them a little breathing room. It's still to be seen if that customer base that was flying Spirit, the big carriers have figured out a way to still capture a lot of those customers on their aircraft with the basic economy fare structure, which sort of nullified the whole ULCC premise. And so Frontier's left with, well, now how do we generate more revenue? We want a slice of that premium revenue that everybody else has. So the tables have turned 180 degrees, and it's now, how do we construct a first class instead of having, 36 rows of basic economy, really, is what their old product was.
Southwest continues to move in the direction of what you would consider a regular airline.
For sure.
Full fare airline. They're talking now about airport lounges in 6, maybe a half dozen American airports.
Their biggest hubs. They're almost like a hub now. They have several
Austin
hubs.
is one of them, Baltimore. They're talking about intercontinental service. The most likely candidate seems to be at their hub out of Baltimore. This whole change that's happening with Southwest, what are you hearing in the industry about the big change that happened? No more standing in line, but now with the reserved seats. I personally flew Southwest on this recent trip that we did up to Canada. This was actually just coming back from Los Angeles, and it went very smoothly. We were not, folks that had flown Southwest remember, of course, standing in line. Now you're called by zone.
Just like the other big three in the U.S.
Right.
That's what they're emulating. It seems to be working. Again, they're not quite where they need to be completely competitive with the other three, but you see they're trying to pull the levers to get there. It's going to take them a few more years, but in the short run, they calculated it was going to give them access to these premium travelers that they didn't have, they were not capturing before, right? Whether that was really business travel, which is down, but the real growth market in the last 5 years has been premium leisure, and that's what they're getting a share of that too. People who didn't, who maybe want an upgrade or want to pay for extended legroom, or of course the big item for every big U.S. carrier is the branded credit card.
Yeah.
We need to get more of those in the wallets and get those being used not just for air travel but for other purchases. That's the cash cow for the big 4 U.S. airlines.
On the negative side, with our travel experience with Southwest, even if you go with their top premium experience, you're going to have the same seat. You're not going to have a premium seat. You're going to have a little more legroom, yes, but you're going to notice this is still an economy seat.
Yeah, and as I've taken a few trips with them, and I can get into the front of the cabin because I have the top level branded credit card, which gives you some benefits, but you're still left with a narrow 737 seat. And for those of us that travel a lot, and those of us who are not maybe on the thinnest side, it's not. The 737 and the Airbus seat are different, and certainly different from a normal first class seat. So they haven't solved that one. I think they're going to have to go to that too in the future. I think you're going to see at least a few rows of first in the future.
Let's update our aviation listening friends about Southwest, the change they made here. You can now fly Southwest TUS to Phoenix. And then from Phoenix, you can connect rather than going to Denver or Las Vegas or San Diego.
Opens up a lot more connecting opportunities, and I would argue the Southwest gates at Phoenix are not playing favorites here, but they are a nicer experience than the American gates, which is still basically replicating my America West days from the early 90s.
Right.
And it's the same, essentially the same setup as it was back then, right? The Goldwater terminal has been open since 1990, and that side of the airport still sort of feels like about 1990. Southwest gates are newer. The Phoenix connections have been fine as far as I've experienced. And when I get here, I'm home. That's the advantage. And the only thing I wish is with only 2 departures, there's an early morning one when you're heading out of TUS. Well, in the summer it's 5:30.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So that, pre 6 o'clock, it generates less revenue. I mean, essentially it's utilization flying because that plane would have been sitting at the gate. Let's just say they would have had to find a gate for it in Phoenix. They decided, well, let's just flip it down to TUS for the night.
Yeah.
We got some gate space here.
Right.
I mean, let's be real about how this works. On the other hand, and same thing, so we get a pretty late arrival in the evening because that's the same plane that turns around and heads back in the morning. But I'll still take that over driving to or from in the middle of the night or spending a night in a hotel, because even if it's a 6 a.m. departure in Phoenix, what are you going to do?
You know, a little tip for our listeners. I know in Tucson we're very much San Diego oriented in the summer. You might want to think about LAX. Southwest into LAX and Terminal 1 at LAX is beautiful. And if you need public transportation, it's literally within a 5-minute, take a left outside of the baggage area for the taxis and the Ubers, where if you're at one of the other terminals at LAX, you have to take a bus. And that is not a pleasant experience over to the public transportation. But where I'm going with this, there are some wonderful beach locations in Los Angeles. Folks may want to think about a Southern California trip there rather than San Diego this summer.
Well, we have plenty of capacity over there. I mean, you're going to find plenty of seats. We've got 3 airlines serving it, and then you're right down there by the nice, cool ocean. And
right,
there are some decent fares to be had on those, and avoiding the 8-hour drive, or including traffic. And as you say, Southwest is the prime spot there.
It's a beautiful
right?
Terminal 1, and San Diego. I haven't been to the Southwest terminal there lately, but has that been upgraded?
It has.
Okay.
That's a good option too. Actually, it's a good option for connecting. If you're visiting southwest.com or any other site that now Southwest is on, the other sites, you'll see some connections over San Diego. Don't be scared about that. It's a nice terminal now. It's not like it used to be.
It used to be everybody just waited on the floor.
It was not a good experience before, but this is a viable connection point for the West, and they're selling connections over San Diego from Tucson to the West. So Southwest definitely has a beat in terms of the number of options you have for connecting, and that's what we try to talk about is, okay, you pick your favorite connecting point, because yes, it's a connection, but if you, for some reason, don't like, Denver, or you don't like, we have, take your pick. We've got anyone you want, we've got, basically. It sounds a little bit, trying hard, but that's the reality of this market. Where I've spoke to a hub, we have a lot of service to those hubs with a lot of options. So, we get fixated on nonstops. If we had one nonstop, would that work for every customer throughout the day? No, it would end up being some connect. People would find different ways. I need to be back by 6 p.m. I need to leave after 2 p.m. Well, you're starting to limit that. Then that one nonstop doesn't work for you anymore.
No,
we've got options throughout the day. Depending, it's just. People should not be fixated on the nonstop. If you're willing to do a connection, you're going to find something that fits your itinerary precisely to what you want.
and we're still considered a seasonal destination. And
Yes.
that means now in the summer, we're going to have less capacity out of here.
So we do lose some seasonal destinations, such as Minneapolis and Orange County. Portland's year-round this year. We talked about the connecting opportunities there on Alaska, in addition to Seattle. It's not as drastic as a Palm Springs, which loses 70% of its business from peak to trough. We only lose 25. March is our peak month. September's our lowest month. So that's the absolute peak to trough, which is not that bad. I mean, I still believe we could support more in the summer. It's interesting. There have been some cuts this summer as airlines sort of culled out the weakest performing routes with the whole fuel situation. We didn't lose anything over the summer, so at least the airlines realize we've reached they can't really reduce us anymore. We've got enough demand. If you look at the load factors and what we're predicting, we don't have this. They've got the capacity dialed into the demand. I just think we could probably support more in the summer.
What destinations? Dallas, perhaps? How many did we get cut? Did we get cut on the DFW?
We're at 5 in the summer, which has sort of been the plan for a while. I mean, I just think
5 in the summer, and then that goes up to as many
6
as
to 7, 6 to 7, depending on the month.
Okay.
They're probably overall happy with where they have us for the summer. I just think they're not. My speeches, and I'm going up to Chicago to talk to them next week, but the speech is basically, you realize that we're exporting a lot of this outbound business in the summer to Phoenix, even more so. You don't see that unless you look at your sales data, but so you could capture them here, probably get a little bit of a revenue premium. We don't want to be too exorbitant, but people are willing to pay a little bit for convenience. We've talked about maybe a lot for convenience. I mean, the average fare difference even today is back to where it sort of has always been in the last. It fluctuates somewhat, but it's always been between $30 and $40 each way premium on average for actual tickets sold. Because we can look at that data and actually see that doesn't mean that every fare is offered that way. People are willing to pay that because
it's $30 to $40.
I mean, it's actual purchases. That tells you the consumer is willing to. That's worth it to them. And of course, you've add in our cheaper parking. In fact, free parking if you want to park in the economy uncovered lot through July. Completely free for a week. Just go on our website, flytucson.com, sign up, get a code, off you go. I don't know how to make it any better than free.
It's about as good as it gets.
I think that's the best we can do. We can't really give away. In all honesty, our other lots are full, so it's not like we're trying to punish people by putting them out there. That's just really the only space we have.
So this is the time of year that just most people dread going up to Phoenix with the heat and getting on I-10. And if folks think they're saving some money to go up to Sky Harbor, is it really worth it?
Well,
in
I
the
would
middle
argue,
of summer? No, I say.
Yeah, and I am contemplating a campaign. I don't want to go too rogue here, but the whole idea of course, people like to be relaxed when they get to the airport and everything. But in all honesty, you can get here 60 minutes before departure, and you're going to be totally fine, even if you're checking bags. Now, I want you to do the math about how long do you feel comfortable leaving in advance to get to a flight in Phoenix. Because you got to allow some buffer time, some uncertainty time.
Let's talk about that. Let's take a quick dive into those numbers. Say you want to arrive at least 60 minutes before your flight in Phoenix. That might even be cutting it close. Let's say, do our math, 60 minutes, at least 2 hours on the road.
To be safe.
And then to really have a buffer in there, I would throw in at least another hour. So it's 4-hour experience.
You've just burned up all of your connection time and then some.
Yes.
I think the only argument I've heard that resonates, and I can't solve it, if you've had a bad connection experience somewhere. I mean, maybe don't schedule, as we've talked about, don't schedule a 25-minute connection.
Right.
But pick an hour connection. You're still going to come out ahead. If an hour, you're saving 2 to 3 hours on the travel time to your first flight.
Yeah.
Right?
I would be comfortable at a place like Dallas with an hour. I wouldn't go less than an hour.
Hour seems to be the sweet spot. They showed me a chart of the actual connection times that they were selling. This is when American was trying to actually de-peak DFW a little bit, which they've done this summer to kind of makes the elapsed total travel times just a few minutes more, but it takes it makes those connection times a little bit longer, which I think people appreciate. That the median time or the peak time is just over an hour. Hour and 5 minutes is what was actually selling. So that means they may have offered some other ones that people were not willing to do. And they actually rebooked me once recently. They had a 40-minute connection at DFW, and they just said, we don't want to sell that to you. Here's something else that'll work better for you. Yeah. So they're trying to be proactive actually in terms of the customer experience, and that's a good thing.
Now, Phoenix, 45 minutes is okay because you get up there usually a little bit early from Tucson to Phoenix.
And we have, even in the summer, we have 10 departures a day to Phoenix on American. Right. There's going to be, there's hundreds of connections that maps to on a given day. So I don't schedule a 25-minute one, but there's no. They use smaller aircraft here. It's quick to deplane. It's not a long, drawn-out process, and it's 5 to 10 minute walk.
5 to 10 minutes, even if it's in the other terminal. Right. All right, Brian Kidd, any final words here as we kick off summer?
You're just going to see us continuing to. I know summer is not business travel season; it's consumer travel season. But we're going to make a renewed push with the business community come later this fall in preparation for, at some point, getting another shot at East Coast service. But I want to have the business community behind that. This is actually a blessing in disguise with all the turmoil this summer, because we are going to now push our efforts forward. It hurts to have to postpone, but we're going to postpone it and try to get the community aligned before we actually launch off this flight, so that we have a better chance of it actually succeeding.
Business sponsorship, possibly.
We just need that group to just commit to flying out of TUS. It's as simple as that.
All right, Bill Buckmaster with Brian Kidd. It's TUS Talks. We'll talk with Brian in July. Thank you, Brian.
Great to have you, Bill.
Thanks.